Hello friends, I am Pranita Sheshni, the student of Breathing Training Center. Today I am going to tell you about the body cavities. The body cavities are the spaces with the body that house organs and provide the protection, support and separation of the various structures in these cavities and allows organs to function independently while being cushioned from the injury and external forces. The human body has two primary types of body cavities, that is the dorsal body cavity and the ventral body cavity. Each of these is further divided into smaller cavities, each with its own specific role. Here, the comprehensive explanation of the body cavities. There is a division, and there some functions of the body cavities are as follows. In that, the first is the dorsal body cavity. The dorsal body cavity is located along the posterior, that is the back side of the body, and contains the two main cavities, the cranial cavity and the spinal, that is the vertebral cavity. In that, the first is the cranial cavity. This is a space within the skull that houses and protects the brain. The bones of the skull, that is of the cranium, form of a rigid and protective structure, preventing injury and protection structures, preventing injury to the brain from the external impacts inside the cranial cavity, and the brain is surrounded by the protective membranes known as the meninges, and it is cushioned by the cerebrospinal fluid, which further assists in the protective the brain from the trauma. The next cavity is the spinal cavity, it is also called as vertebral cavity. This cavity runs along the length of the spinal column and encloses the spinal cord like the brain. The spinal cord is also surrounded by the meninges and the bathon in the cerebrospinal fluid. The vertebral column, that is the backbone, protects the spinal cord from the external forces. The spinal cavity is continuous with the cranial cavity, forming one long and continuous cavity that protects the central nervous system, that is CNS. The next cavity is the ventral body cavity. The ventral body cavity is located along with the anterior frontal side of the body and is much larger than the dorsal cavity, and it is divided into the two major subdivisions, the thoracic cavity and the abdomen pelvic cavity. These two divisions are separated by the diaphragm, a large dome-shaped muscle that plays a crucial role in the respiration. In that, the first is the thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity is located above the diaphragm and is surrounded by the rib cage and sternum and the thoracic spine. It is further divided into the smaller compartments. In that, first is the pleural cavities. These are the two pleural cavities, each surrounding one lung. These cavities are lined by a membrane called the pleura, which secretes the pleural fluid. This fluid reduces the friction between the lungs and the chest wall during the breathing. The pleura also provides a protective layer for the lungs. Uh, then next in that is the pericardial cavity located within the mediastinum. The pericardial cavity surrounds the heart. The heart is enclosed by a double layered membrane. It is known as pericardium, which secretes the pericardial fluid. This fluid reduces the friction between the heart and the surrounding tissues as the heart beats. Then in that, next is the mediastinum. This is a central compartment of the thoracic cavity located between the two pleural cavities. The mediastinum contains the heart within the pericardial cavity, the esophagus, trachea, thymus, and the large blood vessels like the aorta and vena cava. The mediastinum is a vital region as it houses the essential structures And then next cavity is the abdominopelvic cavity. It is below at the diaphragm lies the abdominopelvic cavity, which can be subdivided into the two parts, the abdominal cavity and the pelvic cavity. Abdominal cavity contains the majority of the digestive organs such as the stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, spleen and kidneys, small intestine and most of the large intestine. It is lined by the peritoneum, a double layered membrane that helps to protect the organs and provides a frictionless environment for the movement of the peritoneal. Next is the pelvic cavity. The pelvic cavity is located below the abdominal cavity and it is enclosed by the pelvic bones. I think it is clear to everyone what is the body cavities and which parts included in the pelvic cavity. There are various types of the cavities in that includes. And thank you for listening me. Thank you, friends.